Hello. So I wanted to give you a few more examples of channels driving other attributes besides just opacity. So I'm making a new composition. 20 by 1080. Circle. Fill. Stroke. Okay, so we need some pixel data to drive an effect. So I'm going to make a new layer, new solid, comp size, call this driver. I'm looking for linear wipe. That, maybe at an angle. Feather it out. And we'll make this solid white. Then a new adjustment layer. This will be a compound blur. So compound blur is a blur based on a map, right? So if I plug in our driver layer and I set it to effects and masks, it's just going to blur where the pixel values are. So darker values are no blur, and higher values are more blur, right? Which is pretty neat. And I can, animate this blur going right through my object. All right, another example involves animation, so we'll call this one pound blur. And for this one, I'm going to use a unit that's like a little grid, and then I'll repeat that unit and offset it with a texture. So my unit is going to be 120 pixels by 120 pixels. We'll make it 150 frames long. We'll just do some few simple animations. So an ellipse, if you double click, it'll make it the size of a comp. So I will make this 50 units. Animate the scale by hitting Alt S, starting at 0. And we'll duplicate it. Bring the scale in a little, and then I will have this be an alpha inverted mat of that, so it'll grow and then disappear. Then let's do another one. Same thing, but with a rectangle. Same thing. Make it a track mat, alpha inverted. And then the last one, do triangle. think in this one, I'll animate the contents, the original Polystar. Set rotation. Maybe the original radius. You know what? I'm gonna just animate the radius for now. Same thing. But for the last one, we'll add a null. We'll make both of these a child of the null and just give it a little rotation. Look a little cooler. All right, so we have simple animation, 150 frames long. Okay, so we're going to take this thing now. We'll make a new composition, and we'll call this time displacement. We'll just make a 1080 square. Bring in our unit. And we want this to tile perfectly. So I'm going to move the anchor point to the top left of the pre-comp. I will move it to the upper left corner of our scene here. And then we'll do reptile. Have it fill our composition. All right. All right, so the effect I'm going to do now is a time displacement. And once again, I need some pixel data to drive the animation. So for that, I'm going to add a new solid. We'll do a gradient ramp. We'll have it be black on one side, white on the other. Call this driver. Okay, so we looked at compound blur, and now we're going to do another one. Layer, new, adjustment layer. Time displace. Okay, and I'm looking for time displacement. Now, once again, I need something to plug into it, so I'm going to do the driver, and I'm going to do effects and mask. And you'll see on one side of this, we have one edit, and on the other, we have one bit of the animation, and the other side we have a different side. Right now, it's just blending across all the pixels. That's why we have like a little bit of this curvy form, which could be cool. But if I wanted to offset exactly this composition, I would need to turn my driver, which is this thing, into 120 pixel grid units, which is easy enough to do with the mosaic effect. We'll set this to be 9 by 9. And if I just take the opacity down, you'll see that it syncs up. It lines up with the underlying image, and now when I do this, this map is driving the offset in time. Right. And I can control like how big an offset I want. If I want more, I can put any pixel value in here that I want. I could even have this driven by an image or say something like that. I can also just bring this down a little. I can also add more variation to this by adding some variation to my driver. So if I add some like fractal noise, and I can take the opacity way down, give it a little bit. So now there's a little variation in the timing. See? It's a pretty powerful technique. Okay.